Well, hey there, and welcome back to Richard's Toy Room once again. And we have another model kit review and build for you. Now, this 49 Mercury model kit, this is an oldie. Not oldie as in like 60s or 70s, but as far as I can tell from my research and my memory, this is from sometime in the 80s. And I think I've had it that long too. I just never got around to building it. I remember taking it out, opening everything up, and I believe I started blacking out the grill, and that's about all I did to the kit. And it went back in the box. I had kids, and I couldn't do models because you have to leave everything out, and I had nowhere to leave anything out. Kids would have got into everything, broke everything. So modeling kind of went by the wayside for quite some time till the kids grew up. And a lot of other things happened, and now I've really been getting back into it full time. So anyway, since this kit's already open and I mean, basically, if you want to call it started, I mean, it's really not started much, but we are going to finally build this. Don't have one of these in my model kit collection, completed model collection anyway. I was trying to decide which model to do next, and I was digging through my stuff, and I saw this one. I said, gotta do that one. Gotta do that one. Been too long. And so now we will remove everything from the box, and we'll show you all the parts. Okay, so here's basically all the white, for lack of a better term. They're a little off-white. They're kind of a light gray molded parts. And then you have your clear parts, your chrome parts, your tires, your decals, and your instruction booklet. This is some ancient looking instruction booklet to me. I mean, this thing is, this kit must be a really old one, maybe from like the 60s when it was originally released. It also has a lot of custom parts in it. I noticed when I was looking through. I mean, it has some drag slicks and a custom engine and custom seats and like stuff like that. What's neat about this kit also, it has an opening trunk as well, which you don't see too often in kits anymore. Not too often you see opening trunk, hood, and doors. Well, this doesn't have opening doors, but I was just mentioning that because it's, like I said, something you don't see very often. Anyhow, so that's the instruction book, and the reason I said 80s is because Ertl here was owned by this kid. They make fire extinguishers. It was owned by them from the 70s through, I think, the 90s. And also, I don't know if you can see this or not, when I was looking, when I was pulling stuff out of the box, the decals are dated 12 of 84, at least I believe that's what that means. So this is probably a 1984 release when it was originally released, so I probably got it a little after that, maybe 85, 86, something like that. Anyway, while we're here, we'll show you the decals. So this is mostly just custom stuff. In fact, I don't even see any license plate decals on here, which is usually on most cars, so this one won't be getting one unless I find one in another kit. It's quite possible because I have a lot of extra parts. So let's get to it. So well, grab this one first. This is I think this is the stock engine parts over here, and then you got your looks like gas tank radiator, and this looks like some custom parts. Well, this is a custom console, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure what this other stuff is. Looks like a reel-to-reel deck and maybe a television or radio or something. This has obviously custom parts on it. These are custom bucket seats and possibly custom steering wheel, maybe? Not sure about that. I didn't look through all the instructions to see how many custom parts there are in this kit. Actually, that looks like a stock steering wheel to me. Maybe there is no custom steering wheel because I'm not seeing one anywhere here. Anyhow, you got your axle and wheel backs and some exhaust parts. Here's your seat and dashboard. It's a nice dashboard. That can be detailed up pretty good. This is probably the alternate engine. I'm assuming it looks more modern. It's got dual carbs. And last tree, you got some interior parts, some suspension parts, some body parts, exhaust parts. And then you got this sweet body. Here's the trunk lid that goes on the back here that opens up. And here's the hood, which I believe has hinges on it. I'm kind of stuck in there. There we go. Yeah, so this hood will stay open then when you get it all done. Then you've got your frame in here. This is all put together here. I probably did that. Frame and chassis there. You got here a couple of, I don't know what that's doing in there. Looks like that's probably for the trunk so you don't see through into the rest of the car. Then your interior bucket, not a whole lot of detail there, but enough to do some stuff with it. And this really sweet 50 Merc, well 49 Mercury body. 50 is the same thing, just a little different trim. So that's pretty neat. That looks like it'll be a lot of fun. Next we got clear parts. We got headlights, some other lenses there. I'm not sure what they're for. They may be tail lights, spotlights, or custom lights, and your one-piece glass. And it was a good thing I actually decided to do this kit. And maybe I should check some of my other older kits that I haven't built in a long time, because some of these tires, these really rubbery ones, they start to react with styrene if they sit next to them for a long time. The chemicals in them, and you can't see it, but it was sitting on this windshield or up next to it, and it made a tiny little mark. Luckily, nothing that horrible, won't be that noticeable. And I think it got the inside of this trunk lid just a little bit here, just a little bit, but nothing bad. It didn't get on any important parts. So you got these kind of custom tires, and then they gave you these two-part wide slicks. So there's two of those. If I can find the other part, here it is. Two of those, and then here's the stock Firestone tires. And these are rubber as well. These are what I'm going to use because I always build my cars stock, unless I don't have an option. I usually don't buy those kits. And the last tree is the chrome tree. As you can see, like I mentioned, I started blacking out the grill, but I may have to go over that and do it again because I probably didn't know what I was doing back then. And it's not your eyes. I think this was a very poorly done chrome. I mean, it didn't even look like it got down into these hubcaps and wheels. It's like that was must have been during their darkest days or something. Because I mean, look at you can see it on the back here. It didn't get back in here. It didn't get down in here. Didn't get into these headlight buckets. Luckily, they have them with the Molotow chrome pens now, and I have two of them. These here. These are really nice, liquid chrome, and I've got a 1mm and a 2mm. These things are a must for someone who loves to do cars that have chrome on them. You just have to be careful when you're using them that you don't touch it. I think it has to dry for quite some time, like I'm talking like maybe days or weeks, before you can actually touch it without it tarnishing or leaving like it'll dull it, basically. So, anyway, that's all the parts. And I'll try to do some updates as I build it, if I remember. If not, the next part you see will be the finished product. Okay, so I just wanted to give a little update here. I'm basically done with everything except the interior and painting the body. So I wanted to show a few things that I found while I was doing this model that you may run into if you build this one. Now, I don't know if future releases of this they fixed anything or changed anything. I mean, like I said in the beginning, this kit is like 30 years old or more. So anyway, I forgot to bring the can of paint with me, so I guess you'll just have to be surprised when you see the finished one, what color I chose. But on the model, I decided there's an option to put these fender skirts on, and they go, sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand, they go back here. And I thought it looked better with the skirts, so I'm going to glue them on while the body is still bare, and that way they'll stay on a lot better. I won't have to try gluing them on over paint. And I'll just paint the whole thing as one, because they're not like they're removable anyway. Now here's the chassis. I did have some problems with the chassis that I want to go over. So the engine, there really wasn't any issues that I can think of with the engine, except for where it fits in here. I better turn it around the other way. Where it fits in here, I had to trim all these parts that you see white to get the engine to sit down far enough so that I could close the hood on the car. Otherwise the hood was sticking up and I couldn't put the body to the frame all the way. It's a good thing I like to test fit things beforehand, or I'd have got it all done and tried to put it together. I may have to end up trimming something on this radiator too, I'm not sure. That remains to be seen, but you know, obviously I'll touch this all up. Besides that, the other issues, the wheels were horrible. They're supposed to be rollable wheels, and they have like the drums that go inside, and you have to squeeze them between the backing plate of the wheel and the hubcap piece. And at least one of them, I couldn't get the two to meet, so I had to trim to get the stupid thing to fit. Luckily, they didn't seize up when I glued them. So they do roll, but with some effort. Anyway, what else was there an issue with? A lot of flash, and the chrome was very poor in this specific kit, as you saw earlier. So I had to go over it with my Molotow chrome pen. Besides it being it's obviously a very old molded kit, because there was issues with parts fitting in their pins and stuff right, and you know, trimming like I showed you here and things like that. A lot of flash, although I've seen way worse flash than that. But I'm sure they've probably cleaned things up by now with this kit. But so far I'm enjoying building it. It hasn't really been like oh my god, this is a pain in the you know what, but you know, it definitely could be better. So next time you see, it should be the reveal. Alrighty then, welcome to the final reveal. So, to go over this, there were a lot of issues with this kit. Now, this kit has been, and I think it's currently available, it's in a new release, but I don't know anything about it, so I don't know if they've changed anything in the past 30 years on this kit. I would assume that they have, but this kit really had a lot of issues. I mean, as you can see, it went together fairly well after all, but there was a lot of problems. For example, and I attribute this to probably being from the age of the kit itself when it was designed. For example, this trunk emblem, these tail lights, what else? The hood ornament, the grill, the center grill piece, all those pieces, for example, had no locating pins, and they were really difficult to get to be in the correct position. I mean, I had to do a lot of research looking at pictures of the car so I could kind of get the taillights approximately right. The bumpers, the pegs were not long enough to go into the holes that were provided for them in the bumper extensions. Let's see. I put the fender skirts on. Now the rear wheels won't turn because there's not enough clearance between the hubcap and the fender skirts. The trunk, while it works fine, was very difficult to get aligned right. It was lucky that I thought enough to test it, because when you have to glue this hinge in between the interior and the exterior of the body, there's a little bit of slop in there, and if you didn't get it just right, you either wouldn't be able to open or close the trunk, or it'd be way off. And I didn't even realize until I got it all together and dried and glued that I actually have it just a hair off. So it's a little hard to tell, but if you look real close you can see it. But luckily I had noticed beforehand that this will move, and it had to be in the right position for this trunk to shut right. What else? Let's see. It was difficult for me anyway to do the painting around the windows, but I think I did a fairly good job. I had a couple of bleed throughs from some tape on some of I used the Molotow chrome pen. It would have been nice if these white walls were pre-painted. They have the pad printed stuff. I mean, I painted them by hand, and I think I did fairly well with them, but it was kind of a pain in the butt. Let's see if we'll flip it up here and you can see underneath. And I just moved everything in the trunk. I just realized that. This all went together fairly well. I'm trying to think. The engine, I think I had a little bit of issues with that. This pipe wouldn't fit quite right. The suspension, if you look on the instructions, it's very unclear on how you're supposed to put the spindles. One way you can have it for a dropped spindle, the other way is supposed to be like, you know, how I do it stock, because the wheels are turnable, but there's not even enough clearance in here barely to turn them. And that could possibly be my fault. Maybe I have it just a hair off putting it together, because there is, like I said, there's some slop in the assembly on some of the parts on this. So let's see. Oh, the other thing was a lot of the detail, especially in the where it says Mercury, very hard to pinpoint out with paint or anything, because it was not very clear. Maybe the molds are old at the time. I don't know. But I did the best I could. Let's see if I can get this hood open for you. This actually fits pretty nice, surprisingly. And it actually should stay open by itself. You have to kind of fiddle with it a little bit. Do that. Like that, as you can see. So, I'll take the hood off, and I'll give you a look in there. I'll get the camera off the tripod and do a close-up there, and I'll also show you the inside of the trunk when I do that. Now they gave you this little stick they call the hood prop, but there's really nowhere to put it. So, and plus you don't really need it, so I use it for the trunk if I'm going to show what's in the trunk. But let me get this off. And let me pause this for a second and get you a closer view. Alright, so here's the engine bay. The radiator itself here, this I had to trim desperately to get it to fit down far enough in there so I could make it even look like it was supposed to be in there. Nothing else too big problem there except the horns. There's no locating holes for where they were supposed to be, so I had to like kind of find some pictures online the best I could and guess where they went. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see inside here or not. Let's see if I can get in there. But I did some detailing on the dashboard, tried to make it as close as I could to the original car. So let's take a look in the trunk. Okay, so as you can see, the trunk opens. I've got it propped open with that little prop like I told you. Now the other weird thing about in here, I don't know if you can see this or not, it's a little dark on the camera, but I can see it good from my view. Right here there is a spare tire cavity. They don't give you a spare tire to put in there, so eventually when I find my box full of vintage parts that are lying around, I'm pretty sure I have a matching tire for this and probably some old rim that I can just paint up and toss in there. But for now it has no spare tire. They also give you these extra little tools. Let's see if I can get them out with this tweezer here and show you. You get a little lug wrench. You get, kind of hard to get these. You get the bottom of the jack. You get the jack itself. Now these came chrome, but I thought they looked terrible chrome, so what I did was I just gave them a really light semi-gloss black paint, and I just kind of let the chrome shine through a little bit, so I thought that made them look really good. And then I just made a little tray here. They give you all these little tools. It's kind of neat, but I didn't have anything to put them in. I mean, they give you, let's see if I can get them out here for you. They give you a adjustable wrench. They give you a open end wrench. They give you a pair of pliers. They give you a flat blade screwdriver, and I painted the handle on it. And they give you a hammer, and I painted the handle wood on it. Everything came chrome. So that's what I have in the trunk on this thing. Now, as far as everything else that came in the kit, I mean, as you saw when I went through the kit originally, you could build different versions of this. And it came with this, you could build a whole second engine for this. So, and it also came with this little trophy. It's a piston and a connecting rod. And then here's the engine. It doesn't fit very well on the stand, so I put a little bit of sticky putty on there. But it's a nice little display thing. I have another one from a 57 Chevy model that I built like when I was a kid in the 70s. It came similar to this with a stand. And I also got some models for Christmas that show that they come with 2 complete engines. So maybe we can have like a little engine stand area when I get everything all displayed at that point. So basically there you go. There's the 49 Mercury. I'm fairly pleased with it. I'm always critical of myself, so I'm never 100% pleased, but I like this one. It came out pretty good. This is a Rust-Oleum, I believe it's Royal Navy Blue or something like that, in case you were curious. And I don't remember what color the interior is. It's just some kind of like tan or off-white or something like that. So anyway, there it is. I would recommend the kit, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the currently released or very recently released version of this kit is probably going to be a lot better. They probably improved a lot on it. So that said, that's the end of the video. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.